He stood waiting with wildflowers in his hands, but the bride he paid for had vanished into the night, and he would ride through hell itself to find the woman who ran away to save him.
Subscribe to Wild Sky Stories. Turn on the bell icon so you can do not miss any new video.
The stagecoach rolled to a stop in front of the dusty town of Copper Springs, Arizona, and Elijah Cole stood waiting, with a bouquet of wildflowers clutched in his calloused hands. His heart pounded beneath his Sunday shirt, freshly pressed for the first time in 3 years. He had saved every penny from his cattle ranch. He had written 17 letters. He had memorized her photograph until her face appeared in his dreams. Soft brown eyes, gentle smile, dark hair pinned beneath a modest hat. Clara Weston, his bride. But when the stagecoach door opened, only an elderly couple stepped out, followed by a young man carrying a leather bag. Elijah searched the windows, the seats, the shadows inside the coach. "Where is she?" he asked the driver, his voice breaking. The driver pulled a crumpled envelope from his coat. "Found this on her seat at the last stop. She must have slipped away during the night." Elijah's fingers trembled as he unfolded the paper. "Dear Mr. Cole, I cannot go through with this arrangement. I am sorry for the trouble I have caused. Please do not search for me. I wish you well. Clara." The wildflowers slipped from his hand and scattered across the dirt. 3 days passed. Elijah sat alone in his ranch house, staring at the empty chair across the table he had built with his own hands. The curtains Clara was supposed to choose hung bare on their rods. The bedroom he had prepared remained untouched. His younger brother Thomas rode in on the third evening. "You look terrible," Thomas said, dropping into the chair opposite him. She left. Elijah could barely speak the words. "Took my money and vanished." Thomas leaned forward. "Maybe she had a reason. People don't just disappear without cause. What reason could justify this?" "I don't know, Eli, but you've never been a man who gives up easily. Question is, what do you want to do now?" What should Elijah do? Choice A, give up and accept that Clara is gone forever. Choice B, search for Clara and discover the truth behind her disappearance. If you chose B, continue reading. Elijah pushed himself up from the table. Something in her letter haunted him, not anger, not cruelty, but fear. The handwriting had been unsteady, rushed. Whatever drove her away, it was not simple change of heart. "I'm going after her," he said. Thomas nodded slowly. "Then I'll watch the ranch." By dawn, Elijah was riding toward Red Mesa, the last stagecoach stop before Copper Springs. The journey took 2 days through canyon country, past red rocks that rose like ancient cathedrals against the endless sky. When he arrived, he found the small station occupied by an old woman named Mabel, who remembered everything and everyone. "Pretty young thing?" Mabel squinted at the photograph Elijah showed her. Yes, she was here, crying something terrible in the corner, kept looking over her shoulder like the devil himself was chasing her. "Did anyone come for her?" A man arrived the next morning, tall fellow, mean eyes, dressed too fine for these parts. Called her by name, Clara. She went white as a ghost when she saw him. Elijah's jaw tightened. Where did they go? East Road, toward Stillwater. He thanked Mabel and mounted his horse again, pushing harder than before. Someone had taken Clara, and everything within him refused to accept that he had lost her before he ever truly found her. Stillwater was a mining town clinging to the edge of civilization. Silver had brought men here, and violence had made them stay. Elijah walked through the muddy streets, asking questions, showing Clara's photograph. Finally, a saloon keeper pointed toward a boarding house at the edge of town. Woman matching that description has been staying in the back room. Man keeps her locked inside. Folks say she's his property, but she don't look willing to me. Property. The word burned through Elijah like fire. He waited until nightfall when the town grew quiet and shadows stretched long across the buildings. The boarding house stood dark except for one lamp burning in a window on the second floor. Elijah climbed the back stairs carefully, testing each step for creaks. When he reached the door, he pressed his ear against the wood. A woman's voice, soft and broken, drifted through. "Please, Victor, let me go. You already took everything from my family. What more do you want? You made a promise to marry me before you ran off with that rancher's money," a man's voice answered coldly. "You belong to me, Clara. You always have." Elijah's blood turned to ice. He understood now. Clara had been trying to escape someone, a man from her past who controlled her, who owned her like cattle. What should Elijah do? Choice A, burst through the door immediately. Choice B, wait and plan a smarter approach. If you chose B, continue reading. Elijah forced himself to breathe slowly. He had survived too many dangers on the frontier to act without thinking. Rushing in might get Clara hurt. He crept around to the window and peered through a gap in the curtains. Clara sat on a wooden chair, her wrists bound, her face streaked with dried tears. The man called Victor paced before her, a pistol tucked into his belt. Victor left the room briefly, and Elijah seized his moment. He tapped gently on the glass. Clara's head snapped up, eyes wide with terror, then recognition, then something like hope. Elijah gestured for her to stay quiet. He worked the window latch with his knife, easing it open inch by careful inch. "Elijah?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "I came for you." He climbed through and crossed the room in 3 strides. His knife cut through her bonds. "Can you walk?" "Yes, but Victor, he'll kill you if he finds us. Let him try." He lifted Clara to her feet and guided her toward the window. Her hand gripped his so tightly he could feel her trembling. But fate was not kind. The floorboard creaked beneath his boot, and footsteps thundered toward the door. Victor burst in, his pistol raised. "Well, well," he sneered. "The rancher thinks he's a hero." Elijah pushed Clara behind him. "She's not yours. I paid for her father's debts. That makes her mine by right. A woman isn't property," Elijah said quietly, "and I'll die before I let you take her." Victor laughed coldly. "That can be arranged." He raised the pistol, but Clara was faster. She grabbed the oil lamp from the table and hurled it at Victor's feet. Flames erupted across the wooden floor, and Victor stumbled back with a cry. Elijah seized the moment. He lunged forward, knocked the pistol from Victor's hand, and drove his fist into the man's jaw. Victor collapsed against the wall unconscious. "Go!" Clara shouted. They fled through the window, climbing down to where Elijah's horse waited. He lifted Clara into the saddle and swung up behind her, wrapping one arm around her waist as he spurred the horse forward. They rode through the night, putting miles between themselves and still water. The stars wheeled overhead, and the desert wind carried the scent of sage and freedom. Dawn found them beside a quiet stream, hidden among cottonwood trees. Clara sat on a flat rock, washing her face in the cool water, while Elijah built a small fire to warm them. "You must have questions," she said finally, not meeting his eyes. "Only one." He sat beside her, leaving space between them. "Why didn't you tell me?" Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Because I was ashamed. My father borrowed money from Victor years ago. When he couldn't pay, Victor demanded me a settle. Meant I ran. I answered your advertisement hoping to escape, hoping to find safety with a stranger. But Victor found me. He threatened to hurt you if I didn't return willingly. So you left to protect me?" She nodded miserably. "I thought if I disappeared, he would leave you alone. I never imagined you would come searching." Elijah moved closer, taking her hands in his. "Clara, I built that ranch with my own 2 hands. I carved a life from nothing but hope and hard work, but none of it meant anything until I wrote that first letter to you. Every reply you sent gave me something to wake up for, something to dream about. I'm not the woman you imagined," she whispered. "You're exactly who I imagined, brave, kind, willing to sacrifice yourself for a man you'd never met. What should Clara do? Choice A, push Elijah away, believing she will only bring him trouble. Choice B, let herself trust him and accept his love. If you chose B, continue reading. Clara looked into Elijah's eyes, steady, warm, unwavering. In all her life, no one had ever looked at her like that. Not as property, not as debt, but as a woman worth crossing deserts to find. I was so afraid, she admitted. I've been afraid for so long. You don't have to be afraid anymore. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. I'm not asking you to love me today or tomorrow. I'm asking you to let me earn your trust. Stay at the ranch, build a life there, and if someday your heart finds room for me, it already has, she whispered. The words escaped before she could stop them, but they were true. Every letter she had written him, every night she had dreamed of the ranch and the man who waited there. She had been falling in love without realizing it. Elijah cupped her face in his work-roughened hands. Then marry me. Not because of arrangements or debts, because you choose to, yes, the word came, yea, silly, like breathing. Yes, I choose you. He kissed her gently beneath the cottonwood trees, and the fear that had shadowed her life began to dissolve like morning mist. They returned to Copper Springs 3 weeks later. The townspeople gathered to watch as Elijah Cole led his bride into the small white church on Main Street. Clara wore a simple dress of pale blue cotton, and wildflowers woven into her hair, the same kind Elijah had dropped in the dust the day she was supposed to arrive. This time, she was the one holding them. Thomas stood beside his brother as witness. Mabel from Red Mesa had ridden 2 days to attend. Even the saloon keeper from Stillwater sent a letter wishing them well. When the preacher asked if Clara took Elijah as her husband, her voice rang clear and strong through the sanctuary. I do. And when Elijah promised to love and protect her all the days of his life, tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. Not of sorrow, but of joy so pure it hurt. They walked out of the church into golden afternoon light, and the crowd showered them with rice and good wishes. Children ran ahead, laughing. Old women dabbed their eyes. Young men slapped Elijah on the shoulder. But Elijah only looked at Clara. Welcome home, Mrs. Cole. She smiled, the same gentle smile from the photograph, but brighter now, alive. Take me there. The ranch spread before them as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of rose and amber. Clara gasped at the sight. The sturdy house, the barn, the field stretching toward distant mountains. You built all this for you. He helped her down from the horse. Every fence, every wall, every dream I had about what life could be, it's all here, waiting. She walked through the front door and touched the curtain rods, the empty shelves, the table set for two. It needs a woman's touch, she said softly. It needs you. That night, they sat together on the porch, watching stars appear one by one across the endless sky. Clara leaned against Elijah's shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her. I used to believe I was meant to be alone, he said quietly, that God made me for hard work and nothing else. And now I believe he made me for this moment. For you. Clara lifted her face and kissed him, and the kiss tasted of promises and beginnings and all the years yet to come. 6 months later, the ranch was transformed. Curtains hung in every window. Flowers grew beside the porch. The sound of laughter echoed from rooms that had once held only silence. And when Clara told Elijah that she carried their child, he lifted her off her feet and spun her in a circle, while the morning sun streamed through the kitchen. A family, he breathed, setting her down gently. We're going to be a family. We already are. She placed his hand over her heart. We became a family the moment you chose to find me instead of give up. Elijah pulled her close, and she felt the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her cheek. Strong, constant, forever. He had paid for a wife who was already gone, but love had brought her home, and home was where they would stay through every season, every storm, every sunrise together.